So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guest speakers, Rachel Davies, Head of Analytics and Business Intelligence at Confused.com, and Tim Lang, Business Intelligence Team Leader. There'll be plenty of opportunity to ask questions at the end of the talk, and I kindly ask that you put the questions in the chat facility ready for the session at the end. I'd like to say a massive thank you to them both for taking time out of their busy schedule to come and speak with us today. So over to you, Rachel.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. So hopefully that's worked and you can all see it. Tim, yeah?
Yeah, we can see it. Right. Thanks, Rachel.
Right, so I'm just going to introduce myself quickly. So I'm Rachel Davies, I'm Head of Analytics at Confused. And Tim is actually our Data Solutions Architect at Confused. I'm just going to go through quickly a bit of an intro into myself, and then Tim's going to do the same, and we're just going to talk very shortly, hopefully, about our personal experiences, but hopefully there'll be things that you might be able to pick up on or share or understand that might help you, and then we'll go more into kind of generic what we would recommend and our kind of industry. So to start off with myself, I'm currently leading data scientist and analyst at Confused.com, heading up marketing and customer analytics and growth analytics. I've previously worked in finance and charity sectors in risk modelling and analytics. I actually did a maths degree at uni, and then kind of went through a bit of a journey. So me and Tim are both going to talk about our journeys and how they differ, and how, I suppose, recognising the opportunities when they become available is a really good thing to look at. Also, there's probably a couple of shout outs here as well around that I'll come on to later about like personal brand and contacts and keeping in touch with people that might help as well. So like I said, I started my career doing a maths degree at uni, and didn't probably, as most people did, kind of came out and didn't really know what to do, so fell into an analytics role. That probably wasn't really analytics, if I'm honest. It was a bit of a startup company and very much kind of on the ground. I was really lucky here. I put a star where I kind of was looking around at different opportunities, and I spoke to Principality about a role they had, and the lady that was there was really inspired me to want to work with her in the department that she worked in. So I went to Principality and became my analyst there. I was probably in that role for about 9 months, had lots of opportunity and lots of experience in getting up to scratch with coding and things that I hadn't covered in my degree. Got to know Tim, who was actually in a different department to me at the time. And he actually provided me with my next opportunity. So he recommended me along with one of his other colleagues for a risk modelling job. So like I said at the start, there'll be certain call outs here where I'll kind of recommend you think about these things during your career, and you think about kind of your brand and your rep and what you get involved in, because that was a great opportunity for me to be put forward for. I was there for a number of years, working my way up to a senior credit risk analyst in the team, and it was a brilliant opportunity because there was a lot of excitement. People are going to laugh at the fact that I say excitement when I talk about regulatory changes, but it gave me a lot of opportunity to get involved with different modelling options and get a lot of exposure with senior management. I then kind of reevaluated. I'd been kind of doing that for 6-7 years in total at Principality, and I was looking at where I wanted my career to go. So again, this is another part where I'd recommend, you know, as you go into your careers, doing a self-evaluation and thinking about what you want to do. But I kind of identified that I wanted to go into something or sidestep into something different. So I actually was looking at analytics and other options just so I could kind of diversify, and ended up at Which Consumer Group, which are a customers champion charity, and I ended up leading analytics there, which was again a great option. I was there for a number of years. Would have loved to stay, but I am a mum and I had to get a job a bit closer to home for a short period. So I actually ended up going to a smaller finance company and heading up risk, data science and analytics there. It was a lot smaller company. And again, lots of opportunity, lots of exposure to senior management, and lots of opportunity there for me to kind of explore and develop my career. I started using a lot more visualization tools, so like Tableau, as well as coding, but I actually moved from SAS to SQL within that role. And looking at actually the wider systems, so looking at the engineers and what they needed and how to build a BI engineering space, as well as actually doing some credit risk there as well. So it was quite a diverse role, but really good, like I said, opportunity for me to develop. And I was very lucky again then that Tim reached out about an opportunity at Confused within the analytics department. So I actually became the team lead there for the last 18 months before getting my current role as head of. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of things to kind of learn from that journey. Not everyone's journey is going to be the same, and just kind of be aware of that. But look at what you are best at, reevaluate where you get those opportunities, and also don't be afraid to kind of, you know, stay friends with people and use your contacts and think about where you want to be, because that definitely helped me in my progression. I'm going to pass on to Tim now, who's going to talk you through his journey, which was a bit different.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, hi everyone. Rachel, do you mind moving yourself? Oh, thank you. Yeah, so my journey is well different, but similar in a lot of ways. After coming out of university with a politics and economics degree, I moved straight into Principality as an analyst, and as Rachel said, that I met her at Principality, and there's kind of two different paths that you'll see through my career. There's an analytic one and a data science one, and I've kind of oscillated between the two throughout my time. And one of the things that's different about my journey compared to Rachel's, you'll see that she's found progression through several different companies where the opportunity is right. And I've, by the colour of the dots, you can see I've kind of stayed with only two companies throughout my career, and I'll age myself here, but I've had about 7 years in each company, in Principality, followed by Confused.com, and pretty much every role that I've gone through in that time has not been a role that existed before I moved into it, which I don't know if that's something that is always good, but because it means that there's not necessarily a set format for how things should happen, but it suited me well because what I enjoy doing is kind of setting up the framework for how things work, and developing the opportunities in that area. And the reason that I got those jobs was because I showed interest in those areas, and I started essentially doing those jobs before those jobs existed. And then they kind of got formalised in due course. You'll also see that from moving into Confused.com as an analyst, I then made a switch for a few years over to leading the team of analysts at Confused.com, and so that's a move away from the technical side of things into a management route. But I want to point out here that it's not a linear path, that it's not a given that as you progress in your career that you will move from technical towards managerial. There are alternatives here, and I was missing some of the more technical aspects of my role as the number of people that I was managing increased, and latterly, I've moved, kind of swung back the other way towards a much more technical role now. I've passed all line management responsibilities are with Rachel now, and I'm kind of the technical counterpart to Rachel's team management aspect. So much like what Rachel's saying, I think the moral of the story is that knowing people, finding opportunities when they come along, and just kind of driving into them, and the official roles have come after that. But I'd say they're key things to look for in your career.
Great, thanks, Tim. So some of the things that Tim and I came up with on the challenges of working in data tech. So we've talked a bit about our roles and the benefits, and we're going to go into the benefits and challenges of now working in tech. So I suppose the biggest thing is the excitement of tech is that it's constantly evolving and changing. You know, you guys might not even touch on some of the tools that we used when we started out in our careers. And I mean, you might in some aspects. There are a number of companies that are still kind of on older tech and on their journey, but things have moved on so much, and there's so much opportunity here now, especially with the emergence of kind of data science being completely defined and all the tools kind of gearing up towards that. And also, I suppose, now that kind of discipline has been defined more, that you get a lot more buy-in from senior management and a lot more support and in that space. So that evolution is huge. If you are excited by change, if you're looking for a challenge, it's definitely a place to go. There's always something kind of happening or changing, and that's probably one of the biggest benefits there, especially if you, like we said, you identify your opportunities, look for those gaps where you could fill a gap, create your own role, create your own space, and it suits your skill set. It's a really good place to be. There's lots to learn and be part of. So part of that, we're very lucky at Confused.com that we're given half day a week purely for training. I say that loosely. There are people within the teams that are on university courses and other things where they can actually spend, you know, more time on that training. We have quite a big training budget as well. But within tech, there is a lot to learn. There's lots of resource, and there's lots of training courses. So it's taking advantage of that. I suppose one of the challenges is it is competitive. We've been part of numerous grad schemes, and you can see just by that how many people kind of apply and go through, and how many people apply for jobs. Like, it can be a very competitive market. So it's trying to make yourself stand out, and hopefully we'll come on to a little bit of that, of how you might be able to help yourself with, I suppose, mainly our company, but some of the things that we've learned as well, where we've worked previously. It is hard work. There's lots to do. There's lots to get involved in. It doesn't stop. We're very lucky at Confused that they do push this, only do your hours, please log off and go home to your family's peace. But you know, to get here, we haven't just kind of looked into it. We have worked hard, you know, even just to keep up to date with changing tech. Or, like I said, there was numerous points in my career where there was a shift in tech, and I had to get up to date with it or explore new opportunities. So it's keeping that in mind. One of the things that when we put this slide together, we talked about was the more you deliver, the more people expect. We don't know how to word that better, but people, the more you can show people what data science and analytics can do for them and the value that it creates, the more they want you to be part of it. And I think testament to what Tim's already done and what I hope I've brought to the team as well is how big the team has now become since we've joined. Even since I've joined, we've probably managed to triple the team, and that's purely through proven value through analytics and data science. So it's great. It adds opportunity, like I said, but people do want bigger bite of the pie, and you do then have to learn how to prioritise and identify the opportunities better. Again, another challenge, but you'll find this, I think, across all industries. So there's optimal ways to deliver. There's the gold-plated standard of delivery when you look at analytics or data science. However, stakeholders want things yesterday. I'd say 90% of the time. So trying to weigh that up and learning those skills, and the quicker you can kind of understand those that business challenge versus the technical challenge, the better, because it will definitely stand you in good stead. The other thing is, you know, like most companies that I've worked at, especially where I've been brought in, and mostly I've been brought in for a purpose, which was to get people off legacy and to bring them into, you know, a bit of a new analytics world and using visualization and analytics to drive the business, is that you can make these incremental changes to legacy, but you've got to look at the tech debt and the dependencies and the delivery of those. There's a lot of challenges that become there, and you can kind of create a bit of a mess if you've not got an idea of that. So definitely learn from your peers, learn from your you know, the seniors in the group about what they've learned on their journeys, but definitely kind of keep that in mind as well. It's not always great to chase the newest, shiniest thing. You have to kind of keep an eye on what that creates and how to implement it. The other thing I kind of touched on is data and tech, especially historically, were always seen as cost centres. We cost the business money to hire, and a lot of time it was seen that the reporting didn't necessarily have the value. Now that we're adding analysis, now that we're driving you know, value insights, and now that data science is providing us with optimization and opportunities, we can definitely change that conversation. You might find in different companies that it's more of a challenge, but definitely think about your comms, think about your business focus and your ability to speak to the business, because I've found that one of the most valuable skills that I've probably learned in my career as well. Tim, did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Wim?
No, I completely agree with that. That data and tech are in a lot of businesses kind of aside from where the actual kind of core decisions are being made. So the sort of people that we look to hire are definitely those sort of people that can bridge that gap and talk to the people that are developing products, talk to the people that are talking to customers, and help them make their decisions with data.
So I'm actually going to pass over to Tim now, if he doesn't mind. It's just to talk about the comparison industry, because he's definitely been in there longer than I have. We've spec'd out a few kind of key, I suppose, challenges and good to knows about the industry. But if you are interested in getting into the comparison industry, then Tim's just going to give us a bit of an overview of what that looks like.
Sure, yeah. So comparison is maybe not a term you're familiar with, but we allow customers to choose between lots of different insurers, between lots of different broadband providers, between lots of different energy providers, by kind of acting as a facilitator between all of those. But you've probably seen our adverts on television, and you've seen the adverts of our competitors, Compare the Market, Go Compare, Money Supermarket, and that's a really competitive industry. Those are big names, they're big competitors, and it costs us a lot of money to keep up with those where they're spending huge amounts of money on marketing. We need to be able to respond in kind, and we are lucky that from a data point of view, we're lucky that we have access to a lot of information that can help us to do that kind of stuff. We have a lot of data. We're talking billions and billions of pieces of information that we can make use of to help to be relevant to our customers, to set ourselves apart. But it is highly competitive. One of the great things about working at Confused.com and in the comparison industry is that we are not trying to sell something to a customer. We are a service for customers to help them navigate through buying things. So it helps to be working in an industry that is in line with what customers want, rather than trying to get customers to do things that they don't want to do. It's a nice industry from that perspective. The competitiveness, the high amount of data that we have access to kind of lends us towards being on the cutting edge of technology, and we are Confused.com is the oldest price comparison site in the UK. We invented the industry, but we are only 21 years old, I think, and that means that we don't have some of the creaking old systems that older companies have to carry with them. We are able to be more nimble and have the latest tools and practices. The last point on that first section there is one that Rachel's already kind of covered, that we have a lot of opportunities for internships, for graduate schemes. As Rachel mentioned, we have various of our colleagues are on university courses, whether that is for a shift in their careers or to develop their knowledge in a particular area. And we also partner with various schemes for providing industry experience within a university degree program as well. I think I just saw a question there from Claire. How do you and your teams ensure you keep up to date with technology developments and innovation to ensure competitive advantage? Well, that's essentially my job. So as an architect, one of my roles is to be making sure that the way we are operating, the systems that we're using, whether that's technical systems or people systems, ways of working, are optimal, looking at the new ideas, the new technologies that are being developed, and making sure that if there are opportunities out there that are relevant for us, that we can take advantage of them at the right time. In terms of what learning platforms we recommend to develop technical skills, it really depends on your learning style, I guess. Personally, I like jumping into problems and trying to solve them myself, and one of the great aspects of being in a company rather than in a purely academic situation is that we have messy real data that can really throw up problems that need solving, and jumping in and trying to solve those problems for me is one of the ways that I learn best. Aside from that, within Confused.com, we have a whole learning academy. So we have course subscriptions for online things like Udemy and various ones like that. We also have the majority of the architect team are certified trainers in say Microsoft technology stacks, or in agile technology, agile processes. So we have the ability to learn from our colleagues internally, and as I've said, we also often make use of academic programs as well. A lot of our colleagues are on, not a lot, there's a number of our colleagues that are on university programs whilst also working at the company. Just to touch on the challenges area, as an industry, we're only a couple of decades old, but there are increasingly high expectations of us from our customers. Our customers are getting used to doing everything that they do on a phone instead of on a PC. That they're used to very slick user experiences. They're used to the information they need being right there in front of them as soon as they need it. And so I mentioned that the likes of Netflix and Amazon and companies like that whilst they're not in our industry, they are raising the bar of expectation for customers, and it is kind of incumbent on us to raise our game, because it doesn't matter whether we're in the same industry or not. Customers expect more, and we've got to deliver. Again, we mentioned that the high competitiveness of our industry. Even if we aren't in the same industry as the likes of Netflix and Amazon, our direct competitors are also progressing and raising the bar, and we've got to follow suit. Rachel?
Thank you. So me and Tim are both going to talk to this, and this is only from our experience. So there's definitely more to add to this that you can ask, you know, other leaders of companies or Claire. But comparison is a little bit different in my experience. You know, I've worked in finance, charity, finance again, and comparison. And there's definitely a difference. And we've obviously worked with other companies and overlapped in the past as well. So we're just trying to do a bit of comparison. And the main reason for this, and we'll go on to it, is think about what suits you naturally. We see a lot of people who interview with us who have moved around a lot. And I suppose the question is, have they not met the right industry to meet their skill set and what they're looking for? Because, you know, to keep them interested. Now, comparison is great for that because, you know, like it's moving quickly. There's like we were talking about, there's always opportunity. Things are changing. There's new tech to get up to date with, and there's a lot of big data now. Obviously, as a data scientist, that's very, very exciting. But also as an analyst, like it poses massive challenges and a lot of interest about getting through the noise. Cut through the noise and how to get to the information, and then how to communicate that to the business into value-driven insights. So there's a lot of stuff in that space that's super exciting, but also challenging. What I found in other industries is that they can be very, very different. And this is where it's really good to think about how you naturally work. Do you prefer very structured, very kind of specialist ways of working? When you're at uni, do you prefer to have very kind of tight deadlines, know exactly what you've got to do? Or you're on the other end of the spectrum. Do you like having loads of opportunity, loads of time to think about problems? Do you like delving into kind of random questions and just seeing where it goes? Now, there's different industries that might suit that more. I've worked in finance a couple of times, and I found that a lot of the time it's been a bit more structured, and you've been able to specialise, and you might actually end up going into quite a niche role. That I'm not saying that's the same for all finance, but in general, you know, in a couple of my roles, that's been the same. In charity, I found that it was very relaxed, very kind of customer and people centric, whether I was just lucky about the company I went for. But they did have more challenges, you know, their challenges on budget and how to get new tech and what sort of questions they had to answer and how they could support the customer, I suppose, without spending all of their money as well, because a lot of that is investment, right? So we've both, I'll pass this to Tim as well about his experience, but we've both experienced very different situations and industries, like where we've come from, and just think about how that suits you, and then maybe tailor some of your internships or your grad schemes to suiting that. You know, think about where you would prefer to go, but definitely think about those skill sets. Or if you're really, really keen on getting into an industry, think about what skill sets you need to develop to go to kind of to progress into those, or to be seen as kind of a top candidate. Tim, what would you say you've seen?
Yeah, just to add to what you're saying, obviously my career has been more focused on fewer companies, but I do remember when I moved from finance into comparison, one of the first things that struck me was I said maybe we should do this, something I suggested might be good to do, and someone said, okay, we'll go and do it, and I was very surprised that it was just that kind of fast reaction, that decision made on the spot. Let's give it a go. Let's try it out. And so, some companies, especially it seems younger companies with, as in the companies that are more new, have a more let's try things, if they don't work, we'll move on type attitude. Whereas companies that are more entrenched, that they have requirements to protect the existing things that they have. They can't just try new things, because they're carrying quite a lot of history along with them. I mean, my preference probably comes through. I love the let's try new things mentality, but it does come with chaos, which is probably a way of putting it. It is more chaotic, that we will fly in one direction, see it doesn't work, back up and fly in another direction, and whilst our overarching goal, our eye is always on the overall goal, and that is remaining steady on the horizon. It does feel chaotic on the way there, whereas in the finance industry there was a much more methodical, considered approach to development.
Yeah, great, thanks, Tim. So we thought we'd then look at what we could share with you about. We do a lot of hiring. I feel like I spend a lot of my life in recruitment. So we thought we'd help that kind of conversation about from our perspective, from our desirables. And for me, this is probably a couple of these definitely overlap the different industries I've been in. And a couple of things about maybe don't worry so much about. So the desirables for us is that business focus. So like I said, if you can learn to talk business and to look at business focus, like why are you doing something, what value you're going to add, it helps your development massively, it helps your integration in the business massively, and it helps that that value for data insight and data science definitely develop. And it's much easier for us when we're recruiting as well, if you're talking about, or if you've looked at our business, which always helps, talking about what you think the opportunities are. That's definitely a big kind of tick in our box. And again, I would say that's probably across most industries that is an advantage. So similar, understand the business, or interested in business operations, so similar sort of thing. The other notice, and this is different now, I would say, for whatever job you go for, it won't matter so much if you go to maybe like a startup or somewhere that's very tech-led, but maybe if you were going into something that is a bit more, like Tim said, historical, structured, it could be something that could sway them, is that stability. Have you moved around like every 3 to 6 months, or, you know, every 6 months? Have you stayed there for a year or two and actually embedded something? Now, the only reason we call this out is because we do get a big difference. We get I would say quite a split in the people who apply for jobs for this. And the one thing I would say is, if you go into data science, if you go into tech, if you're moving in 6 months, then how much have you managed to embed and look at performance of, say, a model? It normally takes 3 to 6 months, as an example, to build a really good model. So by the time you built it, you're kind of leaving, you're not seeing the performance, you're not kind of engaging with the business, you're not delivering it. And that's kind of that's something that people will take as an insight from your CV almost immediately. Same with analytics, like how much have you delivered in 6 months? So that's one of the things, like it is tempting to move around. There's lots of excitement in the industry right now. But like I said, if you think about your skill set and that development, if you can look at your stability, what you could take from that company, how you can develop, actually what you can train and how you can add value, it's definitely something that some people will kind of identify from a CV and take from there. The other one, which is our favourite, is the ability to tell a story. A lot of our interviews in our second stage is present happening data, or, you know, go on to what is it, Tim? The Tableau Viz competition. Not Iron Viz. There's another one. Data Viz, not Data Viz Friday. One of them. And we have to take data from them and present to us. And that ability for them to be able to talk to us through that. To be honest, if the Viz is awful, but they're able to tell a story, there's still like that engagement, there's still that opportunity for that person. So definitely think about what your data or your data science model is telling you, how you can explain that. It's really, really good. I think learn how to talk data at all levels. So when I talk about the ability to tell a story, think about your audience. It's hugely important. If you're talking to somebody who is non-data, non-tech, it's a huge difference in how you deliver something. And the quicker you can kind of learn that, and there are definitely presentation courses, I believe on Udemy, but also on like YouTube, there's some great resources about people who share, you know, data science fundamentals or data analytics fundamentals. And if you look at how they deliver things to what is being pitched at a non-data market, compared to if you look at something that is much more technically focused, it's a great skill to learn. And like we said, competitions and boot camps, like if we see those, and there's somebody applied recently and they'd entered competitions on Kaggle, which is a great tool to kind of get involved and get access to data and present. There's also boot camps you can be part of, especially when you're at uni, you know, through the summers and things. Definitely look out for those opportunities because they definitely highlight your CV. And also networking experiences, which I'm quite keen on. We've actually started the South Wales Tableau user group, which is very exciting that we kind of own that space. And we've got some of our great analysts driving that. So being part of those networks is also really good because people do remember your name, remember your contribution, and how you kind of work together. Tim, do you want to talk to the things that aren't so important to us?
Sure. Yeah. Just to reiterate one of your points on what we really look for, and in interviews, if the candidate that we're talking to hasn't done any research into the company, hasn't even been onto our website. I mean, our website is accessible to everyone in the world. It's not hard to do. It really shows a lack of focus. It shows a lack of passion to us, and so I'd say it's easy to do. Look into the company before you arrive in the interview. It really does make a difference. In terms of the things on the right hand side of here. I would say whilst online courses are very good at developing your capability, what we're looking for primarily in candidates is where you've gone beyond just getting that kind of box ticking certification, where you've followed your passion, where you've gone to say boot camps, or you have developed a product or a project to solve a problem that you have identified of your own. Maybe that's just kind of automating your lights at home or something, but you can kind of show that you are you're finding problems and you're solving them yourself. I'd say in terms of adding items to your CV and adding to your credentials, then I'd say definitely go for the latter. In terms of exact course choices, I would rather recruit people with that demonstrate passion, that demonstrate ability to tell a story, that demonstrate the ability to understand how a business works. I would rather recruit those people than people that solely have technical proficiency. I've recruited people that have a broad array of degrees. Obviously, in data and analytics, we do get a lot of maths graduates, but I've also recruited people with someone with an archaeology degree, a geography degree, English literature degree. It's not about the specific course you do, although obviously if someone has passion and technical skills, then that's even better. But the priority for us is finding the person that has the passion and the ability to learn, and we can teach the technical skills ourselves to a decent extent. And a final undesirable is a lack of professional skills, and by that it's the kind of way to interact with colleagues in a business manner, punctuality, ability to kind of present yourself as an individual who is honest and professional and someone that people would like to work with.
Yeah, and by that we don't mean necessarily kind of turn up in a suit and barely sit, be very rigid in what you say. You can see we don't wear suits to work. Like we work from home. We're very kind of fluid with how things go. But it's literally how you communicate and how you converse with people. Even in that first interview, it makes a massive difference if somebody is genuine and open than if they're kind of more closed down or closed off to us. So definitely consider that. So the other thing that we thought that would be relevant from this, like we said, and we've covered a few of these, but our top tips of how to enhance your employability skills. So going off those kind of desirables/undesirables are, whilst you're on your course, look at grad schemes for a great in. So for the end of your course, we've hired 5 people now, Tim, through grad schemes just in the last 18 months, maybe more. They're a great into a company, but not just that. They show a massive amount on your CV for the fact that you've worked with a business and that you've got to know actual kind of real life experience. Also, don't be afraid to contact friends and family. As you know, I didn't reach out to Tim and say, get me a job, but we've kept in touch. We both know that we're really interested in data and the tech industry. And it means that keeping those kind of contacts and keeping those relationships, Tim will look out and go, there's an opportunity here. Are you interested? And the same for other people I know, that will reach out. Like my old boss, we've stayed really close and he will always kind of reach out with opportunities. So don't limit yourself. Don't be scared to ask for help. It's not, an embarrassment. We've actually got one intern with us at the moment through a recommendation from a family member. And we've got potentially another one as well. So definitely think about those sorts of things. And also don't limit it to friends and family and people, like LinkedIn is a great resource for reaching out to people, but also to recruiters. Recruiters know kind of companies or can know some companies very well to know if there's a pitch there for somebody. So think about those as well. Like I said about joining user groups, there's not just Tableau user group, there are other networking opportunities. So look out for those. Kaggle, like we said, is a great kind of forum for building those opportunities, and there's competitions and networking pieces there. But there's also kind of industry events that happen. So is it SQL bits, Tim?
That's right.
And others, if you get into those, they're great opportunities as well to get to know people and to kind of look out. Like we said, look out for boot camps. They do happen. There are some fast track courses that people do as well to kind of support. So the last thing from us is around brand. So I've mentioned it a couple of times and alluded to it a couple of times. It's just something that I'm quite passionate about, I suppose, and more conscious of the more I've gone on in my career. And it's probably why I've had the opportunities I've had, in a sense, and probably why Tim has as well. So your personal brand is everything and anything. It's everything you do. And personal brand was actually coined by a guy called Tom Peters in 1997. And he told us that no matter what, we're all CEOs of our personal brands. And an effective personal brand is where other people think the same of you as you think of yourself. Now, this is where you show more of what you want people to think of you and you show less of what you don't. So think about those conversations. I think the best example somebody gave me when I did a course on this was how somebody felt that they were assertive and passionate and powerful, but actually the view was that they were aggressive. And you have to think about those sorts of ways. And there's definitely a way to show that you're assertive. There's definitely a way to show you're powerful without showing its aggression, because it's a language choice. It's a display choice. It's a body language choice. So have a think about those things, because I do think it's really important. And it definitely opens up things. So just going a bit further into what it means. So understand your motivations, your limitations and your strengths. Where do you think those need to be developed, or where do you think you need to reframe those potentially? Or where do you think you want to push? Like, if you're really passionate about something technical, but you're maybe not getting the engagement on the other side, think about how your wording can affect the recipient's view of what you're saying. Think about how those characteristics are interpreted on how you're speaking and how you're kind of coming across, and set your priorities. It's all about evolution. I'm not saying people should change at all. You shouldn't change who you are fundamentally, but think about your evolution and how you want to develop into the future. It goes back to that piece on professionalism. It goes back to that piece about being able to communicate. It goes back to that piece about talking to people at different experiences and levels, so that you know how to engage with them, and know how to identify and articulate your personal value. What can you add to a role? Like, look at where Tim has got himself. He's literally managed to identify opportunities all the way through his career and create this space for himself by articulating his value and the value of that space, and also by massively identifying where his strengths are. And the same, I suppose, with myself. Like, I've definitely realised that I am more of a kind of a people person. I like that communication. I like that engagement. So going into people management within tech, it kind of hits both sides for me. Definitely not what a lot of the people who work for me want to do. You know, there's a lot of kind of very technical guys who work for me, and they know that, and they can articulate that, but they can also articulate the value they add. So that's probably what we're going to land on, or end on, sorry, is just thinking about that brand and what you offer, and good luck, basically.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks both. I have to say that was a brilliant presentation. Really insightful, really interesting stuff. I was particularly interested in that last piece about brand. And I suppose, you know, if you could take yourselves back to when you graduated, you know, would you do anything differently? Would you change your career pathway? Just wondering if you've got any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned so much during my career. I've learned, I suppose, that how to show my passion in a different way. So being passionate doesn't mean kind of getting my own way. It means, which I probably was more like that coming out of uni, right? Because I was so excited by everything. But going into a business and actually kind of identifying the value of that and putting that passion towards those, and then being able to articulate it, that kind of growth has massively helped me. What about you, Tim?
I think one of the things that is easy to do when you don't have the experience of interviews and all that kind of thing, and just to kind of clarify on what Rachel was saying, having a brand doesn't mean putting on a persona. It means recognizing what is good in yourself and being able to represent that to the world. So I think it's very easy and sort of natural in a way when you're going into interviews to try and put up a front and pretend to be what you think that the interviewer wants. But it comes across so transparently if you try and do that. But having your brand is not trying to be someone else that you're not. It's about representing what you are. As honestly and effectively as you can, and I think throughout my career, I've learned to understand what I want, what I enjoy in my working life, and I followed those opportunities. To kind of answer your question, Claire, about would I do things differently? To be honest, the whole industry that we work in has consistently evolved. I don't think back when I was coming out of university, the majority of what I do on a day-to-day basis existed, and so it's kind of hard to say could I do anything differently. I think what I've done is I've followed my passions. I've made opportunities for myself when I've seen them there, and that has carved out a career for me, not one that I've looked out over the next 10, 15 years and said I want to do X, and I followed it doggedly. I've been kind of reflective of what I enjoy, and I've as I've evolved and as the industries have evolved, I've been happy to change those directions.
Fantastic, brilliant. Okay, I don't think we've got any questions in the chat. If there's anyone to come onto camera, take the mic off and ask a question of the panel. No, don't think so. Okay, if we do have any questions, obviously we'll drop you an email, but just want to say a massive thanks for coming along today. Fantastic talk. And, you know, we'll certainly hopefully speak to you in the future. And thanks for all the information shared in the chat as well. It's really, really helpful. So thanks very much.
No problem.
No problem at all. Thanks, everyone.
See you soon. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.